Have you ever looked at someone and wondered how on earth do they get so much done? How have they got so much motivation every day? And why does everything they touch seem to turn to gold? I've been there myself just over 3 years ago, and what I found was the difference between them and me wasn't that they were born with some skill that I was not. The main difference was they prioritized their health, and I didn't. I didn't prioritize my sleep or my diet. I didn't prioritize exercise. I was still drinking all of the time. The only thing I prioritized was how much money I was making inside my business, and that ended up being the very thing that was holding me back the most. And so it sent me down this rabbit hole of investing tens of thousands of my own money into seeking what I call peak performance. And I'm going to teach you everything that I learned over the past 3 years today. In fact, I presented this across one of my companies to our entire team just last month, and I'm going to show you that exact presentation because in the last 3 years, I've managed to make many millions in my companies. I've managed to get rid of my biggest insecurity and feel good in myself, 27 years of a scrawny physique, and most importantly, I am healthier than I have ever been. So, pay attention to this one. Take loads of notes. There's a lot of information. If you only adopt just 10% of what you learn today, I believe it will dramatically improve your life. Enjoy. Let's do it. Do I need to do anything in particular?
So you probably need to just connect your laptop up for it.
I'll just give you a bit of context on why I did this, because I'm now 3.5 years deep on this, and it come off the back of originally wanting to feel like Bradley Cooper in the Limitless film. And has anyone not seen Limitless? You should definitely need to watch Limitless, an exceptional film. That Bradley finds a drug called ECT or something like that, NCT, and it's a drug that just makes him so incredibly optimal, but actually has all these downsides. And then I was like, how can I get like this? I'm going to give you some context, and I'm going to jump into the 4 pillars of peak performance. But I want to start by saying your health and your energy and your ability to focus impacts everything that you build. And if your health breaks, it goes without saying your work and your life suffers. And this training isn't medical advice. I'm not a health expert. I'm just like a self-professed nutty professor as sorts, probably with a bit of autism thrown into the mix. And I've invested very heavily into this side of education myself. I've spent well over $10,000 on this stuff as a very low estimate of various mentors and so on, and lots of blood paneling. I did this after battering my body with various substances for many years. No exercise, poor nutrition. I had a past life as a nightclub promoter, and so I used to go out a lot, didn't have a great relationship with alcohol. And then as a young entrepreneur, my mindset was always success over everything. So it was success at all costs, until I questioned what success really meant to me after I'd achieved how I perceived it to be initially. And that was realizing that my health had the ability to strip away everything that I'd worked hard to achieve. And I developed this kind of autistic obsession with all things peak performance and marginal gain. How can I get the edge? How can I be on top? How can I just feel my best at all times so I can operate at my best? And so I'm going to lay it all out for you today. Some of this will be overwhelming, but if you even just implement just 10% of what I go through, there is not a doubt in my mind this will have a massive impact on all areas of your life. So I'm going to give you the quick pre-sell. I'm going to give you a before and after, of course. And this isn't a meta ad, so we're allowed to do this. This is me in 2022. I was a skinny dude drinking a lot, and there I am. This is me in 2025 with exceptional lighting, looking like the Hulk. I've not just been focusing so much on my mental, but actually the second or knock-on benefit from all of this is I've been able to get myself in a decent shape. I'm not a huge guy, but I'm very healthy, the healthiest I've ever been. I've maintained a very lean physique for really the last 2 years. I've not taken any substances outside of stuff that's very natural and herbs, but I've managed to increase my testosterone gradually over the past 3 years. Bear in mind, when we get to the age, I'm now an old man at 31, so we start worrying that our testosterone is declining, which naturally is what happens, but my testosterone's been increasing over the past couple of years. I'm not sure how long this will last. I can only fight my biology so much, but we'll see. I got my first health coach, a guy called Manusos. Manusos is, I can only describe him as a cyborg. He is the most disciplined person that I have ever met, but to a complete extreme. He's a Greek guy, a Greek god arguably, incredible physique, but just incredibly disciplined, really cares about his health, and just so knowledgeable with all this stuff. And he created a monster in me when I started working with him. So we worked together over the course of 6 months, and he was like my virtual PT, but his main sell was he helps entrepreneurs hit peak performance. And so the whole thing that we were optimizing for was peak health, and therefore mental clarity and lack of brain fog. Because how many of you guys, just for a show of hands, how many of you hit the afternoon and get like that brain fog period where you have that slump and yeah. So I had that a lot. And so I feel like not every day, because we're not perfect, but I feel like most days I can blast through that and still be high focus. I then got a little bit deeper into it. I started buying stuff off Josh Mason, he's the owner of Detox Dudes. You might have seen his stuff around. And I got quite deep into detox as well. I'm going to give you all of those protocols today. I'm just going to fill you with a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can take away from this as well, including like a 56-page research document that I created with my team with all these detox protocols as well. At the peak, I did a 7-day water fast, no food at all. It's actually a 10-day detox total. And now every quarter I try and do a 5-day detox. And I've done various bits, and I'm going to show you a bit of explicit content. And I'll show you what came out of my body on one of those detoxes. It'll blow your mind. You can look away, I will pre-warn you. So we're going to go through the 4 pillars of peak performance, because when I talk about this, the sexy thing, people are always really interested in hearing about supplements. And that's the thing that always interested me. It's because we perceive supplements to be the thing that's going to give us the edge, when actually supplementation will make little to no difference if you're stacking on top of shit. It's like, through the order of priority, it's sleep, which is, I've tried to compare this to like a D2C brand. You might disagree with the order of this, but sleep being like the product, the most important thing, nutrition being the offer, the way we're packaging it and positioning it. The body is your funnel, which you're marketing, mind the back end, and supplements are the tactics. It's just like the thing on top. But tactics, in absence of all of this really important stuff, are pointless. It's just like a discount or whatever, which you can't sell shit. And so there's no point stacking. If you're going to take anything from this, don't think that you're going to be able to take certain supplements and then you're just going to feel like Iron Man. You need to get this stuff in check in order to be able to really maximize from it and then get those final marginal gains from supplements. And I say marginal gains, like through the supplements that I take and through the things that I have learned over the years, I will, I don't know, take my first batch of subs in the morning, which might be focus-based supplements. Actually, the first batch is longevity, then it's focus. And you get this thing, you get like this little window of clarity that you ride for a couple of hours. It just feels incredible, like an edge on just focusing on work. But I don't believe that would exist if I didn't have the rest of this stuff. If you have a poor night's sleep, none of it's going to matter. It's just going to be like, lift you up by 5%. So I want to start off with all of that stuff. And what I'm trying to, there's just a huge amount of information to condense. So I'm trying to keep this as actionable as it possibly can be. And there's going to be some crossover between this stuff. But that's why I want to give you, I've basically refined this considerably, and I'm going to give you access to the larger document, which you can study in your own time for those of you that do have a closer or a deeper interest. So sleep is the foundation of everything that we are going to go through. Everything else falls apart without sleep. If you have a bad night's sleep, it's actually interesting. Through all of this, I decided that I wanted to stop drinking. I now have a bit of a balance where every now and then I will have a drink. For example, tonight I might have a couple of beers. I'll enjoy that and I know my limit and then I stop. But I don't binge anymore. And what I've noticed through not drinking is I've had a bunch of nights out. In fact, it's one of my favorite things to do now is have a sober rave. I could go to a festival and so on 3 days. I can be with friends who are drinking and I can just have the whole weekend completely sober and love it more than I ever did when I was drinking. But I noticed the late night, the day afterwards, I still feel hungover. And what I've realized is it's actually just sleep deprivation, which is the main thing. It's not really even necessarily the alcohol that's making you feel so terrible. That's longer lasting impact and hormonal and your dopamine and so on. But the sleep is really what impacts that the most, which is interesting. You should all take a test. It's a sleep chronotype. You can do this in your own time. I've got a link here. But we all have a sleep chronotype. And this is obviously just a unique mechanism for people to try and understand this stuff. And you can have a look at this in your own time. In fact, I actually think this is a little bit inaccurate now in the sense that as we go down, it should be a bit later than 12 p.m. sleep time. But we hear in the simplest form, we hear night owl, morning, early bird, night owl. But we're breaking that down a little bit further. We have dolphin, we have lion, we have bear, we have wolf. Dolphin being like it's lion, which is the earliest riser in the day. But it's good to get an understanding of where we sit within this based on this quiz, because we're all very different, all of us are. Joe, you're a night owl, right? I'm an early bird. I wake up early. That's where I get the best of my work done. You get the best of your work done in the evening. And so it's recognizing that and not just trying to fit yourself in the mold of someone else. So all of this kind of pre-work is instrumental in you actually getting the most out of this. And for each of these steps, I've got some pre-work that you should do just to get a good understanding of who you are and the way that your body wants to work. But what we're really trying to do with our sleep is we're trying to sync ourselves to what's called our circadian rhythm. And it's a 24-hour process that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. And it's governed by the brain's internal clock, but responds to external cues. So light, for example, and darkness. This is really the foundation of where we hear getting sunlight in the morning. So waking up, getting sunlight as soon as we can. We are letting our body know that it's time to wake up and it's time to energize. And actually not just looking through the window, but actually getting vitamin D in our eyes and taking in the energy of the sun. We're kickstarting that circadian rhythm, we're syncing. Okay, that's why if we ever go and we get jet lag when we go abroad, one of the first things that we should do, apart from hydrating and having electrolytes, is putting our feet on the earth, barefooting, and taking in the sun so our body can sync. And then from darkness perspective, we hear about red light therapy and blue light blockers. That's really just the technical aspect of applying the circadian rhythm. So we're just trying to let the body know, give it cues. Okay, now it's time to produce melatonin. Now it's time to go to sleep. And so if we bring conscious awareness to this, then what we start to do is we start to be stricter with our schedule. And the more you can regulate the times that you eat, the more you can regulate the times that you wake up and go to sleep, the better your body will function, because it understands, it knows all of the cues, it's working on the right time schedule. And so life just gets a lot easier when you try and work on a regular schedule, which can't always happen, but we can try and bring awareness to it as much as possible. So light first thing in the morning. Natural light is our hormonal switchboard. Overhead light at night. If we've got like bright lights in a house, so if you had something overhead, the spotlights, you really don't want to have those spotlights on at night time. And some of this might be basic stuff for some of you that have been exposed to this for a while, but just little reminders which are really important that do make an impact. We want to avoid those really bright lights before we're going to bed, because it will disrupt melatonin production. So the general protocol for sleep is get sunlight within 30 minutes of waking up. Use warm or low light at night, so reds or orange tones. You can get like the Philips Hue bulbs I quite like that I use in the house to change to red. You'd be able to walk past my apartment at night time and it would all be red, and people probably thought there was something strange going on, but I don't. There was that as well. But now I'm not as strict as and when I remember, but I'm conscious that the phone is on night mode. We all have night mode on the phone. I don't know if you guys have that turned on. That's a very easy thing to do. So just get rid of the blue lights later on in the day. You can do the same thing for your laptop and just turn it up to the max that you can do that, because it has a variable setting. Avoid screens or blue light blockers. No caffeine 10 to 12 hours before bed. That's probably on the extremer side, but really what we want to try and avoid. I actually now have found through testing for myself, but you need to test for yourself, that I can have caffeine at 4 p.m. and still have a perfect night's sleep. But if you're having caffeine beyond 4 p.m., you are making a big difference to your sleep. Even if you think you're not, subconsciously, like your REM, if you started, so we have obviously our deep sleep, our light sleep, and our REM sleep, REM being rapid eye movement, where we're dreaming and so on, where we're getting like really, it's deep, where we're getting really restorative sleep. But you will notice if you use a Whoop or an Oura ring or anything like that, you will significantly reduce the amount of REM you get if you are having caffeine later on in the day, even if you feel like you're still sleeping for the same amount of time. This is a hard one. Stop working 2 hours before bed, or at least it's hard for me. Sometimes this is just 1 hour, but I always just have blocked in the calendar, wind down before bed, because it will make a difference for obvious reasons. Your brain is still ticking as you're trying to rest. Keeping the room cool, like 15 to 20 degrees. You actually need a room way cooler than you think it needs to be to have like optimal sleep. So like the actual optimal is like 15, 16 degrees. The general mindset is, as humans, we haven't really evolved that much since we were cavemen. We haven't really, technology has evolved around us, but like intrinsically from who we are biologically, we haven't evolved that much. So by that same light, we really want to make our sleep space akin to a cave, okay? It's dark, it's cold, the sun, we don't need this artificial light going on. We want to try and replicate the natural cycles of just live in accordance with how nature should already be. So it's blacked out, it's quiet, it's as cool as possible. You can use an Oura, Whoop or smartwatch to track, which is something I do recommend doing to start off with. I have found myself, and I don't do this myself anymore, that after a while you begin to get obsessed with the metrics, and sometimes you'll have a good night's sleep and you'll look at it and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've got a lower marker than yesterday, and you don't feel as energized as you did previously. But I think it's very healthy to do at the start so you can educate yourself on the things that you do in your day to day that make an impact on those results. And then of course test your chronotype and then adjust your sleep and wake accordingly. For me, I used to, when I started the business, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'd go to sleep at 9. Now I wake up at 6, and if I go to bed late, I'll wake up at 6:30, maybe even 7, and I go to sleep somewhere between 10 and 11. That's what works well for me, but you've just got to figure out what works well for you. So, yeah. Yeah. I used to love the Aura because it's discreet, but then I preferred the Whoop because then you can work out with it. I hated that the Aura, when you can't lift weights or anything because you're just going to scratch it, and so I prefer the Whoop. And the new Whoop band looks really good. They've got all sorts going on that, so I think probably Whoop. Or if you've got an Apple Watch, yeah. So if you've got an Apple Watch, it's fine, but then you've got to wear it to sleep. That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, if you really want to go for it, then obviously you've got like an 8 sleep mattress or whatever. Joe found one really recently, actually, like an alternative to 8 sleep, which looks good, which is
like 400 quid. It's like mattress cooling, does all the thing,
and does order tracking and everything. Yeah, it's about time an alternative came out. Cool. Shall we do questions at the end, or just let's do questions at the end? Yeah, we'll do questions at the end. We'll do that. Nutrition. Okay, we all heard you are what you eat. Okay, you are what you absorb. Your gut talks to your brain constantly. One thing I've learned is your gut is directly connected to your brain, in the sense that our microbiome dictates the way that our brain functions. And so there's a book that, honestly, it's a very new book that's actually only out within the last couple of years. I cannot recommend this enough. It's called Food for Life by Tim Spector. Tim Spector owns Zoe, which, if you have seen, is the blood monitoring, and they do gut microbiome tests and so on. Very intelligent guy. This is like the latest food science book, and every single chapter is a different food group. And there's so much knowledge within this book of just having a deep understanding of what food groups are good for you. Even just like things like, okay, we have a chapter on bread. Which breads are the most healthy for you? Anyone can guess what the healthiest bread is for you? Sourdough. There you go. Yeah, sourdough. And then, can you guess what the worst bread is for you?
white.
Ciabatta.
Oh,
Yeah, it's good. I know. Ciabatta. Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So would really recommend that, just so you can make more conscious choices. It's very easy to look at this and think, oh, is this not a chore? Is this not something that you're constantly thinking and stuff? And like Tom, you said to me earlier, oh, you on a diet? When I was picked up the porridge and picked up. No, it is just who I am. And there's never a chore. I'm never, oh no, I have to be worried about this. Through doing something for a long period of time, it just becomes a habit, and it just becomes who you are. So when you bring conscious awareness to something, over time it will just become who you are. And I never ever find this a chore, and it's never something that I have to go out of my way for. Apart from, I am a hypocrite because I had a Mackie D's on the way here yesterday, and I felt terrible for it. It was the first time in about 6 months, but it happened. I almost admitted myself to hospital afterwards. If you want to go deeper in this, there's a website called feelgut.co.uk. You can do a microbiome and food intolerance test. Again, you could use Zoe. I think Zoe is more optimized to surrounding the female body. So if you're female, then Zoe is good. But Feelgut is just a little bit more universal. So I did a microbiome test and a food intolerance test, and that's always fun, just to get an understanding of what foods you react well to, and which you don't, because you'll be surprised. Like, I have a very slight tomato intolerance, interestingly, which I don't really do anything for because it's very fucking hard to avoid tomatoes, and I love a bit of Tommy K. This is very interesting to me. So fats consumed with carbs, when you eat a meal and it has fats and carbs, your body uses fat for stores, because carbs are the energy source of choice when you have them available to you. But fat, in the absence of carbs, is used for energy, and fat is a far cleaner energy source for the brain. So if you're in any sense physical, so you're a laborer or something like that, then you would want to eat as many carbs as possible, okay? But if you're working in a digital sense, you're sat behind a screen, you want to eat as much fat and protein as you can and try and avoid carbs in the morning and at lunchtime. And so I've got a bit of a protocol for this, at least what's worked well for me. But broadly, we want to try and limit carbs in the morning, definitely in the morning, you want to try and avoid carbs for breakfast. Like, it's different if you need like a long-term sustained energy for the day, maybe you're out and about. But if you're like coming into the office, the most optimal breakfast you could have is something that's high protein, high fat. So timing wise, we want to try and, like sleep, we want to try and eat the same time every day to train the body clock. You could try fasting, so you could do 16-8, so 16 hours fasting, 8-hour window of eating, or 14-10 if it fits your lifestyle. I did intermittent fasting for 2 months. I didn't get on too well with it. I know other people that have done incredibly well with it. I found that my optimal state is a keto diet half the time or 3/4 of the time. So I try and not have carbs until dinner, broadly. Like today I'll have the pita, no issue. Yesterday I had a Mackey's at lunch, no issue. But broadly, if it's a Monday to Friday, I'm like, I want to be dialed in. I'm having like a protein shake with a bunch of extra bits and bobs in it for breakfast. And then at lunch, I'm just having like vegetables and some kind of high quality protein. But broadly, I've found for me that a keto diet half the day seems to work the best, and I just have a lot of clean energy. And then 10-minute walks after food, if you just, a short 10-minute walk after eating and just like pace around, like will kickstart that metabolism and will stabilize blood sugar. Your digestion starts moving much quicker. You get to miss out on that stodgy feeling, that where you get bloated and you just feel a bit stagnant, like you want to have a nap after you've eaten. Mainly that feeling of wanting to have a nap after eating is the carbs. So if we start, as far as quality is concerned, like we want to start the day with 300 mils, 500 mils of water, a bit of lemon juice in there, which is good for the metabolism. And then Celtic sea salt. This is a bit of a hack. Celtic sea salt you can get on Amazon. Celtic sea salt is one of the most electrolyte dense salts on the planet. So it's got your magnesium, your potassium and so on inside of it. So this is basically like the cheapest version of LMNT or Revive or any of these electrolyte sachets that you can get. And I have Celtic sea salt in every single glass of water that I have. It's just a habit now, and it's so cheap for a big bag. It's very easy to do that. The issue with not remineralizing water, so we want to have like remineralized water over bottled water, over tap water. Ideally, we don't really want to be drinking tap water. Again, like this is easier said than done, but tap water has, because of the process it has to go through and because of removing chemicals, you through that process you remove all the minerals inside the water as well. And so what you're really doing is just flushing your body out continuously. You're not really deeply hydrating the body until you then have something with electrolytes inside of it. You're just nourishing all of your cells. Whereas like tap water over time, especially including some of the chemicals that are in tap water as well, you can actually demineralize your body over a long period of time. So ideally want to avoid tap. If you want to go geeky with this, what you really want is a reverse osmosis system. You can pick one of them up for £200 and it will last you for life. You need to change the filters once a year, which would be about 50 quid. But you can get a reverse osmosis system for underneath tap, which will remineralize water, which basically means you're getting like Evian, Fiji quality water from your tap long term. Organics, grass-fed, locally sourced, broths, high quality fats, polyphenols. Polyphenols are something that you'll hear a lot about. Polyphenols are the defense chemical inside of plants that defends them from external forces. So it defends, it can defend them from pests, it can defend them from animals, it can defend them from pollutants in the air. But polyphenols are incredibly good for the gut, incredibly good for your microbiome, and you'll learn a lot about them in that Food for Life book. High polyphenol foods are all of your bright vegetables. So you've got broccoli. The purple broccoli is a banger. So anything that's really bright in color, beetroot, for example. So any bright colored vegetables are really high in polyphenols. Cocoa powder as well is very high in polyphenols. We want to avoid, notice a lot of you guys drink the old Monster Energies, right? We want to try and avoid them as much as possible. They like sucralose and Ace K, they harm your microbiome. Like the alternative sugars, it feels right because it feels right because it's like sugar free and we just base things based on calories, but it is like you are quite literally just turning a blind eye to something that's fundamentally unhealthy for you if you are drinking like no sugar drinks. And the same is true, that doesn't mean, okay, fine, let me just have a full fat Coke then. It's generally we want to try and avoid these things in general, because over a period of time you are going to damage your microbiome and you're not going to be as optimal. Like it's like some of you might not even realize how different you could feel if you took on some of this stuff and spent like a month being like, you know what, I'm going to try this thing out for a month and just like getting rid of some of these bits. And again, like I from time to time will have an energy drink in some way, shape or form, but it's just bringing conscious awareness. This isn't about getting rid of everything in general. It's just knowing what is and isn't good for your body and just bringing awareness to that as much as possible. One thing a lot of people always like to hear about is the old bulletproof coffee. Bulletproof coffee that was such a hack for me. Do you still have bulletproofs? Such a hack. So when I have, let's say they'll have a protein shake in the morning, and then what I do is I do protein, I do chia seeds, and I put, what else do I put in there? Like high quality cocoa powder with the polyphenols, which has also got loads of fiber in it. I'll then have a bulletproof coffee. So bulletproof coffee is just black coffee with MCT oil. MCT oil is a refined coconut oil, which basically just purified. It is like octane fuel for your brain. Like it is one of the highest quality fats that you can put into your body for energy in the brain. Grass-fed ghee, which is just refined butter, but that could be Kerrygold butter as well, which you can get in any shop. You have a tablespoon of both of them, and then you have a L-theanine capsule. L-theanine is a supplement, and it removes the jitters. It gets rid of it, lowers cortisol level, which is the hormone related to stress levels, and so it basically curbs the spike that you get when you have caffeine. If you ever have like caffeine jitters, try and delay caffeine 90 minutes post-waking. This was a big one for me. And I used to wake up and the first thing I would go to is the coffee machine. I'd drink water, go straight to the coffee machine and be like, oh, cool, I can start. And it was this lovely ritual. I used to really enjoy it. But what happens is when you use, it's almost like the fat and carbs thing in your body. When your body has access to something like caffeine, it's using that for energy, and then it's telling the body that it doesn't need to naturally boot all of its energy sources like from the ground up. So you're essentially like engineering your energy sources from the start, and so your body stops producing all the hormones that are actually naturally going to wake you up and give you clarity. You also then get cortisol crash as well, because you are disrupting that normal hormonal wake up. And so if you avoid caffeine for 90 minutes before waking up, you will just find that your body over time will just give you much more energy from drinking that water with the electrolytes in. And then when you do have the caffeine, it's like caffeine for me is a tool. It's like a resource. It's okay, I'm now going to sit at the desk. I've got my bulletproof coffee, and it just propels me forward like rocket fuel in that period. It's not a crux that helps me feel energized in the morning. Like I used to be, oh, where's my coffee? I need it. Oh, no, okay, cool. I'm not happy until I've had my coffee. Now it's like this tool that I use, and sometimes I just won't have it. Like on the weekend, sometimes I just won't have coffee. I try and reset it. But L-theanine is good in that. L-theanine then calms the spike, and so you don't get like the anxiety that comes with it sometimes. I've already covered this one. We don't really want to use caffeine to mask poor sleep. It is a good weapon for that every now and then, but broadly we want to avoid it. Like more caffeine that we have, the harder we crash. It's like caffeine is the same as nicotine in that sense. Like the more you have it, the more you crash, the more you need of it, just like many substances. I'm going to go through supplementation because it is part of nutrition, really. But most of the stuff that I take, I think there's probably only 1 or 2 vitamins that I actually take. Everything that I take is some kind of a herb or some kind of a plant and so on, or an extract from a plant. So it's not like, oh, we're going to talk about taking a whole bunch of different vitamins. And I'm going to come on to that at the bottom of this section. Have I got a timer, by the way? Do I know what I'm on?
We finished on the hour. So
Cool. I'm good.
Time at the top right should be good.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, body. We can't enjoy optimal health without movement. Genetically and biologically, humans are structured to move and do physical work, not sit in the same position all day, okay? We are built to move, and I've gone through many periods in life where I've just not exercised, and I have, and so on. I always feel better when I am exercising to some degree, just mentally, but of course physically. Training in the morning or the evening, but just ideally not within 3 hours of sleep. The ideal situation is you're training 3 times a week. Strength, you're doing 60 minutes of cardio, and you're walking 8 to 10 steps a day. That's like a minimum protocol really for like optimal health. I've watched a lot of podcasts on peak health and longevity when it comes to physical fitness, and the general gist is if we can have as much variety of different exercises happening in the week as possible, then that's the best thing that we could do for our bodies. So we're maybe doing yoga, we've maybe got some strength in there, we've got a little run in there, but it doesn't need to be that we're going all in on just one thing. It's the variety that really makes the big difference. Ergonomics, having a standing desk. Jackie, I know you've got a standing desk there, which is awesome. And are all these desks standing? They are standing, aren't they? They are standing? They can stand? That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Makes a big difference. I also got an under-desk treadmill, which I thought was a fad. I used to see clients on under-desk treadmills on Q&A calls, and I'm like, what's the point in that? It's genuinely awesome. Like I use it for 2 hours a day, every day, and I just use it in the morning work block. And it's great. And I don't then feel the guilt if I don't go out for a long walk in the day. So would actually recommend them. And you can pick them up pretty cheap, like about 120, 150 pounds on Amazon. Sitting upright, ditching sofa chairs. Like, I love sitting and working on the sofa, but you will screw your back over time. Stretching in between deep work blocks, adding flow and mobility to unlock tightness. Like even just stretching for 5 minutes a day or doing yoga once a week will make a massive difference. I know you guys, you still do your weekly yoga session.
No, we don't actually.
Mm.
We need to kickstart it. It's
Yeah.
not on the case. So.
Yeah, back on. Yeah. And then just tracking everything to stay consistent and consider accountability. I've been on and off in the gym since I was 16, 17, give or take. And it was only 3 years ago that I actually managed to stay consistent. And it was just because I had the accountability of Manu Sauce. It was the pressure that I'd spent the money, but it was also the fact that he was just bugging me every single day for metrics and so on and so forth, and tracking me on spreadsheets. But like, accountability really will help. Even if you just have a PT for like 1 day of the week, it just creates the pressure to external motivation is so strong. And then when you've got the habit, it's so much easier to keep it. If you can keep up the gym for 3 months, if you create the rule, the rule I've created for myself of any habit is never twice. So I can skip anything once, but never twice in a row. The minute I skip twice in a row, I might as well have just given up on the thing. So I'm just like, okay, I can skip the gym one morning, but I'm never going to skip the second session. And that's helped for me. Okay, mind. So mind's obviously a deep one. There's lots of different things we can go into here, but I'm going to keep it relatively high level and work focused rather than necessarily mental health, but it will impact such. So at the top of our health and performance pyramid is mind. Like, your mind is your secret weapon, and how healthy you feel mentally will directly impact how healthy you feel physically. That has multiple meanings. And in the sense that we often talk about placebo when it comes to things like supplementation, and everything that I take, I've studied deeply, and I've, through order of elimination, have got rid of a whole bunch of things. Me and Joe always going back and forth saying, oh, what have you taken this? Have you taken that? And same with other things. But in many cases, and these things do work, but even if they didn't, and you just felt good and you just felt better about yourself, and you felt better, you had a better relationship with your body and just how you were mentally, you would feel physically healthier. Like, bottom line. And so we have to focus on the mind. It's all well and good working out all the time. It's all well and good eating well. It's all well and good sleeping well. But if we feel shit mentally, we're not going to feel good physically. And we all know that the more stressed we are, the more anxious we are, the worse the relationship we have with ourselves, the more that's going to manifest in the body, the more illness we'll get, the more disease we can create in ourselves as well. So a few protocols for that. First hour of the day, no phone or reactive inputs. That's a hard one, but for me, wake up, I go to the gym, have breakfast, then I check my phone. I try and not check the phone at all, because if I do that, I'm in a vortex of Slack, and then all of a sudden the whole day is buggered, and I can't even think about having a good workout or anything. So getting rid of the phone. The key to that, I have found at least, is having the phone either in a different room on charge, or having it completely on the other side of the room. Like, having a phone on bedside is a killer. Yeah, I would never have a phone on bedside. Deep work, 90-minute focus blocks. So like the Pomodoro strategy, this is something that works well for lots of people. So you could try that out for yourself. For me, what's that peak mental time? 4 to 6 hours after your temperature. Don't know what that one is. We can get rid of that. Use brain.fm. If you haven't used this before, it's just just a music app. Although I will often default to just going on to YouTube and going like deep focus and just, or binaural beats or something along those lines, or white noise. But noise cancelling headphones sometimes, even just without any music at all, just makes a world of difference. So just having things that can just eliminate the outside world for a temporary period of time will make a huge difference on being able to focus. Box breathing. If you haven't done box breathing before, it's a nice breathing exercise in order just to reset your nervous system, just reduce your cortisol levels. Meditating daily as well, just sitting and returning to the breath. Nature for me is the biggest one. You guys know me, like nature is I'm just nature obsessed. It's like getting outside every single day just for half an hour or an hour, touching ground, barefooting. I don't have any normal shoes anymore. Every single pair of shoes I own are barefoot shoes to some degree, and when I'm in South Africa, I just literally live barefoot the entire time. That's just something just about being connected to the earth, and regardless of the science of the negative ions from the ground and so on, which I don't understand deeply enough, I just know it feels fucking good. And so getting outside and being in the grass and being under the sun is just, yeah, a big one. Cold exposure, we've obviously done that this morning, and everyone's given that a go, which is awesome. It's good to see. 3 minutes builds a lot of grit. If you can get to 3 minutes, it's good. And then you get a minute and a half in is when it starts to become easy. But 3 minutes in is where it's what we're told anyway, scientifically. 3 minutes is where the majority of the body benefits come, and the core temperature drops significantly. In fact, when you hit 3 minutes and you come out, like you can get back in the sauna and you're genuinely like freezing from the internals for a good 5 minutes until you heat back up. But the dopamine release you get from that is huge. Environment, workspace wise, these are pretty obvious ones, so I'll blast through them, but like keeping workspace to a minimal, like maximizing daylight during work hours, you've got no issue here. There's so much nice daylight. Separating work and rest zones, which you've got. Oxygenating plants or air filters in the space are always nice to have. So like a snake plant is good, and I've got so many plants in the office at home, but air filters are also good, just so because you're breathing in the same air, just recirculating the same air in a stagnant space. So just windows open at least will help as well. And in the bladder-brain axis, this is an interesting one. So if you're in deep work blocks, it's very easy your body is going to try and find anything to distract you. So you're like, I'm going to get in deep work mode. And it's like, oh shit, I need a piss. And actually, you don't really need that. And if you feed into that, it's like a cycle. Every time you get into deep work, you suddenly need to go to the toilet again. So you have to fight against that to eliminate that as an option of procrastination as well. Because when we get into that deep work mode, you always just convince yourself, oh, I need to do this, or I need to check my phone, or I didn't respond to this person, and so on. So don't underestimate that. So those are the fundamentals. I'm now going to go into the juicy bits, which is like supplementation and a bit of detox as well. We'll hold off on questions. If you've got anything on any of those, we can go into it and then I'll send you over some stuff. So supplements wise, whilst they are sexy, supplements are not a shortcut, they are a multiplier. I got all of the other stuff in check first. Manusos didn't even let me consider supplementation until 3 months into the process. So we're doing 3 months in the process, and then he was like, cool, now we can talk about supplementation. I got super geeky about it, so I actually just started dabbling in it on the side anyway. But he was like, in ideal world, I don't want you doing this until 3 months in, because I don't want you convinced that it's supplements that's making you healthy. I want you to feel what you can do just by focusing on the basics first. So if our fundamentals are strong, supplements can help plug specific gaps. They can accelerate recovery, focus, sleep, and health. I take supplements for energy and focus, for sleep and recovery, for hormones, for gut health, for immune support. The first thing that you can do, like Joe showed you, is get a blood panel on a website called 4 for Life if you want to understand your baseline, and so you know where you are at initially, because some of us might be deficient in some areas. We might have an iron deficiency or a zinc deficiency, and those things can massively impact our energy levels. So it's always worth just seeing where you are at with that. And there's a variety of options. It's not just, okay, I want to have a full panel and it costs me hundreds. You can just do small isolated ones, which will just cost you like 20 to 50 pounds generally. And then obviously we have the supplement stack. So you're gonna have to take this with a pinch of salt, because I've got a couple of different options here. So this right here is the list of things that I take. I'd probably take 90% of this stuff now. I'm going to go down because I do have a baseline supplement stack, which is like the basics of things. And this is what I would say is not the minimum, but this is like if we're reducing them down, and I could probably pick out 1 or 2 of these things which would be the most impactful if we wanted to. But I don't know how to play this, because I can't really just go through every single supplement and tell you guys exactly what everything does right now, because we haven't got much time and I want to get through a few other stuff. I'm going to send this over to you, but maybe I'll pick out a couple of things. Energy drinks. If you can just reduce your caffeine intake to just 2 doses a day. So if you can go to like your morning coffee after your 90-minute wake up, and then have a mid-afternoon caffeine, so probably at 3 p.m, maybe 4 p.m. at the latest, but like sometimes between 2 and 4. I found that yerba mate tea, which is actually like the most drank tea in South America, there is more caffeine in yerba mate than there is in coffee, and it's a slow release caffeine, so it gives you a really long release of caffeine, gives you a lot of energy. So I found that's a really great alternative to having coffee. Sometimes I just really fancy a coffee, so I'll have one in the afternoon, but I'm only having 2 doses of caffeine a day, broadly speaking. Creatine monohydrate it's in us already. It's amazing for athletic performance and recovery. So as a baseline, like to be honest, everyone should be on creatine, like male or female. Creatine is also very neuroprotective. Alpha GPC, so these are the focus supplements. Alpha GPC and ginkgo biloba. I take a whole bunch more, but these are two of like the baseline ones that I would say have the biggest impact, at least. So they're nootropics for cognition. And so a ginkgo biloba is also really good for ADHD. I don't know if you can tell, but I am very ADHD, and it's the number one herb used to help people with that. But then if you don't have it, it's just going to help. It increases your dopamine levels. Things feel more satisfying. One thing that people misunderstand with focus is people think like focus, there's two parts of getting focus. It's, can I reduce brain fog? If I want to reduce brain fog, we're just reducing like pollutants. And so that's my diet. The other part of it is that people think, oh, I just can't focus on something. I can't get, and actually what that is normally a dopamine deficiency. So you don't have enough dopamine. You're not getting enough reward signals in your brain to say, this is a task that I'm actually enjoying working on. And so you can't stay motivated. So you're procrastinating on other things and you're jumping around tasks. And so in doing that, getting rid of the energy drinks, getting rid of too much caffeine. If you're having Zyn all the time, which I will use as a weapon every now and then as well, but if you're on nicotine all the time, all of these things are having a massive impact on your dopamine levels. And so what's happening is your body is always in this mode of chasing something. And so it's always in a place of lack. It's like, where's the caffeine? Where's the nicotine? Where's the bad food? Where are the carbs? And so things like ginkgo biloba regulate our dopamine, but not in absence of, or not in conjunction with doing all those things. You're just going to give yourself a hard time. Turmeric is like the world's natural multivitamin. So turmeric has like a whole myriad of multivitamins within it, but also is a great antioxidant. Omega-3, great for the brain. Omega-3 and 6 you can get in capsules. It's good for the heart, good for your blood. You have them table to gone through. L-theanine for that crash. And then these are sleep supplements. So magnesium L-threonate is the best magnesium that you could have for sleep. And it's also it's neuroprotective, it's good for cognition. And then glycine is great for sleep as well. It's an amino acid and it's good for recovery as well, both mental and physical. There are a whole bunch of other things. If I was to pick out one or two things which I think are worth considering, if you want to dabble in this, then I would say, first of all, have you ever seen Joe have methylene blue? Have you seen Joe's methylene blue before? Methylene blue is a really interesting stuff. Methylene blue is a blue food dye. And it's a blue dye, full stop. Methylene, all you need to know about methylene, not all you need to know, but an interesting thing you need to know about methylene blue is when COVID came around, the US banned sale of methylene blue. And methylene blue is an incredibly strong antiviral. So there is an old saying among doctors of, if in doubt and if the patient is crashing and you don't know what to do, reach for the methylene blue. And it's a strong antiviral. You use it in fish tanks to get rid of disease and so on. And it's something that I used to take every single day. We used to take it every day that we were in the morning shot. Now it's something that I use as a tool. So I don't want the body to get used to it. So if I start to feel under the weather, or if I'm on a flight and I've landed and I want to avoid getting ill, I'll have methylene blue for like those antiviral properties. But so that's an interesting one. It's cheap and it will last you a very long time. The only other one I would say just to pick out is NMN. Has anyone heard of NAD+? So NAD+ levels is it's a measure of cell health. And N8 and NMN is the precursor to NAD+. It allows the body to produce more NAD+. And so it's just great for longevity. So cell health, reducing the chances of getting certain diseases, your organs deteriorating, etc. So if you want to take anything for long, and again, this is now a controlled substance in the US. In the UK, it's not. So if it's in the US, when things become controlled in the US, it's always a good indicator that they actually work. And so it's now like a pharmaceutical, but in the UK, you can buy NMN with no issue because it genuinely, so many studies, it just increases that NAD+. Outside of that, I'm going to just send you over this list. These are links, by the way, so you can just go ahead and just buy this stuff or whatever. And if you have questions for me, just send it over to me. As you can tell, I proper geek out over this. Like Joe mentioned about like various like potions and stuff. Like this is like a nighttime potion I take of various different oils in a tea, in a chamomile tea, like ashwagandha drops and lemon balm drops, chamomile, passion flower, and all sorts of bits and bobs. So I love this. I'm always trying out new things. If you want to talk to me about it, then we can. But I'll just give you access to this list and you can go through it off your own back. So that's supplements. The final thing I'm going to go through is detox. So if you're doing everything right and you still feel off, detox could be the missing link. We all hear about heavy metals and parasites and mold and toxins that they can just drain our energy and our clarity. And a proper detox protocol clears the load so your body can reset, repair, and perform. So we're eating every single day. The human body isn't designed to be eating every day. Like we used to, going back to caveman times, we would fast for long periods of time. We would go get food and then we would eat. So we would feast and then we would starve. Whereas now we have the ability to eat continuously. So our body never really flushes. And so there's huge science in doing water fasts in order to flush the entire body out. That's something I got pretty deep into. You can cover your eyes right now because I'm going to show you something. So if you're like squeamish or you think things are gross, like this is pretty gross what I'm about to show you, I want to give you some context. I was 5 days water fasted at this point. I was not shitting. There's nothing to come out of my body. But this came out of my body 5 days into a water fast when I did an intestinal detox. So I basically took a lot of citric acids and so on to essentially strip the intestines of all of the gunk. And when we have saturated, polyunsaturated fats and so on over a long period of time, we build up something called mucoid plaque, which is plaque that sits in the various crevices of our intestines. Okay, and let me show you what came out of me. This is insane, by the way. This is not poo. This is plaque. 5 days into a water fast. And imagine like a rubber-like substance. That was the substance. And I felt so incredibly light after that experience. Like for about a month afterwards, my body just felt light and I had so much clarity. And so there was no food in my body or nothing, but I just detoxed all of this out of me. And so I've got the 2 detox protocols that I did. That one was actually a 10-day detox. And there's also the detox pack that I got as well. There's a few various different things I did there. I won't go into this because now I could talk about this for ages as well, but there's step-by-step guides. We actually got the whole academy team doing this. Only 5 people ended up doing it, but they all had a great experience with it. It is a proper mental challenge. One thing I would say is the biggest mistake people make with a water fast is they try and do 2 days. It's impossible to do 2 days. It's not impossible, it's just horrible. The worst day is the first day and the last day. The first day is terrible because you're anticipating not eating food when your body normally eats food. The last day is terrible because your body is anticipating starting to eat food. When your body accepts that you're not going to eat food for a couple of days in between, you just have this clarity. There's so much, your body then uses all of its fat stores for energy. You lose a bunch of weight, and you just feel so mentally clear. So it's the middle days where you get all the benefit, and it's the first and the last that are really quite challenging. But an almost spiritual experience, to be honest. Like I'm trying to do a water detox every quarter, and then we reintroduce. You've got to be really careful. We have to follow the instructions to reintroduce foods properly when you do it. Have broths, have cold pressed juice, watermelon, things like that. You can actually quite harm the body because you've reset your gut microbiome. You can really harm the body if you go straight into like bad foods, and you're basically readjusting your body to shit food. So you want to use it as a cleansing experience and then as a healing experience coming out of it. This is the intention for who I want to be going forward. The bare minimum implementation list from this stuff, I'm sure you've all got some ideas. Number 1, get your sleep right. Exercise 3 times a week, eat whole foods, limit carbs before dinner, drink bulletproof coffee, try and dose caffeine 2 times a day max, and then practice daily mindfulness. Like if you just did these things, you'd see such a positive impact in all areas of your life. I've got a QR code here if you want to scan this and get access to this doc. There's a lot of other documents and resources. I'll open this back up and leave this on in a second, actually. There's a 56-page document that me and my team created, so you can go and read this in your own time, just going more granular into all of this stuff and just all of the knowledge. And we have a learning design team in the academy, and they just basically, through a series of interviews with me and Manusos and so on, we outlined all of this stuff so you can read that. I just want to leave you with this closing thought. Like, to really get the most out of this, we have to realize that we're not creating new habits. Like, we're creating a full identity change when we're coming into something like this. If you want this to last, it has to be an identity change. And health is the most important thing that we all have. You don't need to go all in overnight. You can start where you are. You can make these marginal gains. And ultimately, I just hope you get addicted to feeling great like I have. So that's it.
Cool. Has anybody got any questions, Jordan?
No drama. Yes.
What made you start going into this journey? Because when I met you a few years ago, you were very much alcohol, drugs, whatever.
Yeah.
And this has been a 180 in a good way. And I just wondered, what was the catalyst that made you think?
Just the realization that for a long time, I was just chasing financial success. And so then it was just a realization of, okay, fine. But what does that actually mean if I'm not as healthy as I can be? And how many times am I going to go out on the weekend to be recovering throughout the week? And actually, even just realizing that my initial goal of like success over everything, but at the cost of my health, was counterintuitive to that goal as well. Because I'm like, if I'm waking up on a Monday and I'm hazed, or if I've got brain fog in the afternoon. And so it was just there was no catalyst moment as per se. I tried to get back into the gym, and I was like, let me find a PT. And then by chance, I just looked through my DMs and found Manusor Stare. And it was this peak performance thing. And I was like, oh, that sounds good, because now it's a PT for my brain. And so I got into it and I was like, oh shit. It was like an unlock. It was like, wow, this is how life can be lived. And so, yeah, it was just, I think I felt guilt for battering my body for so many years, basically. Yeah.
Now, this isn't an insult. You seem much more relaxed and content now than you were back then. Like, you were higher strung back then,
Yeah.
I'd say. Whereas now you're like
More
chill.
Yeah.
And you seem a lot happier.
Yeah, thank you, man. That's because it's because my feet are. I'm glad. It's because my toes are in the grass more. That's what it is. I'm more grounded.
Thank you very much. That was incredibly insightful, first of all. I love that sort of stuff, and I don't do any of it, so it's great.
No, there's no sleeping.
I don't even sleep. The monster is what I'm addicted to as well. How long do you think you were into this process before you started to really like notice the change?
Immediately. It was like the minute I made the commitment to myself, and the minute because I decided from day one it was an identity change. So the minute I made that, it's what I said, if you mentally, if you feel good, you physically feel good. So it was like the minute I set the intention that I was going to do it, that I wasn't just going to try this thing out, that I was just going to fully embody it. That was when I started. I immediately felt good. And if we're then talking about, okay, physically, yeah, like I've always been very insecure about physique. I was always very insecure. That took 2 years for me to look in the mirror and be like, oh, I feel okay about myself there. But then as far as like focus and so on is concerned, that happened within weeks. It's so immediate with diet change. Diet actually, like apart from sleep is baseline, diet is huge. Like just 3 days of eating healthy, like you just feel incredible. Yeah. And like what I said, like it's not like I'm so strict that it's like I will cheat and I will have various different things, but like just bring conscious. I saw him and I didn't even look twice.
And
yeah, fine. Honey in abundance. Honey. I'll have, so every night, I do like yogurt bowls. Ultimate life hack, a yogurt bowl. A nice yogurt bowl with fruit and honey and so that satiates every sugar craving that I can possibly need. So I don't starve myself with sugar. I starve myself with things like chocolate and sweets. And I used to I've got so many fillings. I used to love sweets and chocolate and gorging and so on. But yeah, I find just fruit and honey and things like that still. Yeah.
Going back to the limit, like talking about Limitless, the film and stuff, obviously the big thing with him is focus, and you mentioned focus as well. Do you, as being somebody as well that is huge on social media, do you find that social media has impacted your journey at all? Not for your social media personally, but your usage of social media. Have you also done a sort of social media detox?
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the best things I really do. So it's a battle. It's a constant battle. Like the world is literally built to make us addicted to social media. So it's so hard to maintain, to keep hold of. But do you know that you can reset your explore page on Instagram? I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could just reset your explore page and your algorithm changes. So literally like every month, and you notice how quick it gets fucked up again. But every month I do it, and then I'm like camping, nature, fishing, and so now my explore page it's nice, but it's all the same thing, and it's nice stuff when I do look at it. But when I look at it, it reminds me that I'm not doing this thing anymore. But then you have to get back into it because it slips really quick. So it's the explore page that really gets screwed up. So yeah, I try and bring a lot, like my screen time on my phone is very low. I think my screen time on my phone is, I say very low. It's low in most people's. It's like 3 hours a day, or 2.5 hours.
Just one final thing, sorry. So as I said, like I didn't really do any of this. I think I probably dabbled in here and there, but definitely not long enough to see any results. But I really want to, and I actually said to Joe a couple of weeks ago, didn't I, how I've noticed the change in Joe over the last few years and like the level of clarity he has and the focus he has. And I think a lot of it's attributed to this stuff that interested me a lot. So the detox thing, do you think, as somebody that hasn't gone through this, I know you talked about it last, but is that sort of a thing that you think for me would be maybe a good thing to start with? And then sort out sleep.
So Dan from our team that you've met,
Yeah.
Dan, so Dan did that. He kick-started with the detox, and it was just like a new journey. I actually think it's a really nice way to start, actually. Doing like a 5-day, probably do 3 days water, and then 1 day juice and broth, and then 3 days water, 2 days juice and broth, which you could follow. I think that's exactly what the 5-day thing is. So that would be a really nice way to start. It's just, and then it's so fascinating doing a detox. Like you realize like the relationship between food. You realize how much of a void food if it hits. You feel so bored. You're like, you have this longing for something, and then you realize it's food. So it really changes your relationship with food. It's
interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a really good, powerful thing to do.
Thanks, man.
No, I was just gonna add on about our part of our job is to stay up to date with social media and trends and what's going on in that space. And we talked about this not long ago, find it really difficult to stay engaged with those things and not have it take over our life. But
do you use screen time like the actual app limiter thing as well? Because then at least in your own personal time you can limit it. Because it's not an issue in work, but it's just when it carries forward to home. Yeah, so screen times are quite good where it actually stops you from going on the app. There's a good app called Opal, which is better than the native one. You've used Opal? Didn't get on with it?
And then I deleted it because I'm like, why are you not letting me go on?
It's a process. Like, I'm not perfect with it. It's a process. Like, the world is built to make us addicted to social, and it's so hard.
Yeah,
it's so hard. I just wish you could turn off explore feeds. I just wish you could do that.
no, but that's good about deleting.
Yeah, resetting it, just making a habit to reset it makes such a big difference. Minusource's mindset towards it is if you actually put your phone in grayscale. So his phone's in grayscale, so it's in black and white. So it's really uninteresting. That's what he does. Yeah.
Just one final thing for me. I think you had a question, Chris, as well. The gross image is crazy.
Yeah, mental.
Do you think there's like an age? Obviously, ideally, you feel like when you're born, you should be on this sort of thing to be optimal for your whole life. Obviously, no one's doing that. I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know if this is safe for newborns. But do you think they're probably not? Do you think there's like an age where this has become like peak? Do you think it is in your 20s? And when you
I don't know. I think the best time is always now. Like even just like you consider smoking, it takes 15 years for your liver to return back to normal baseline after smoking. So by that definition, like it's never too late to stop smoking. Whereas people like admit to, and like people get to 30 and they're like, oh, I've already done it for 30 years. I might as well never do it. What kind of mentality is that? You would feel incredible within a couple of months. Feel incredible. So it's the right time is always now. Yeah. And that's why I think if you can try and do the detox thing of once a quarter, like that's not the easiest thing to do because you want to be working from home or want to be like around, like you guys have got it easy here. There's such a nice culture in the business. Like everyone's so understanding. Like it'd be very different if you were in some like hustle and bustle office and everything was like hectic, but like everyone here would be so understanding if you were just a little bit like more zenned out for a couple of days doing a detox. So you got it facilitated well, but once a quarter, I reckon is the ideal.
Yeah.
We're going to go last question with Christy, and everyone can join. You're coming for tea tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome, man. So we can keep that conversation going. But last question with Christy, and then we're going to get Ben on. So.
Cool. So I have one question because I've been trying to experiment with a bunch of those things, like with sleep, with diet, and things like that. And I think it's a massive positive spiral. Like when you start working out or you start sleeping well, it just adds on. But I've experienced the other way around. Like I have such a good streak for a long time, but at some point I crash with sleep, and then automatically, like midday, I grab a snack or something like that, and by night I am too tired to go to the gym, and I also grab another snack and so on. So how do you deal with those kind of bad days?
Yeah, and I do that. It's that rule of one again. It's like I can do that once and never twice. So I can skip the gym, I can eat shit food, I can have bad night's sleep, but never twice in a row. And that's just having that habit makes a big. That's actually it. That's a habit that I've had for a long time. I actually reaffirmed recently from a guy called Ryan Dice, who's a great entrepreneur, and he does the same thing in business. But it's just a really simple frame. It's like I can screw up once, but never twice, and it's just yeah. But we're not perfect.